Welcome to Honest Trailer Commentaries for the Da Vinci Code, a very historically accurate film that teaches you
all
everything,
based on real history and the Bible.
And
everything
science.
you need to know about the Renaissance and Jesus, all in one video. We will be watching the movie together, giving you our behind-the-scenes thoughts. We also have outtakes that we cut from this one, and we'll be doing a Q&A, so any Da Vinci or Jesus questions you have, throw them in that chat, and we'll respond to them at the end. Also, we'll tease you with next week's very enjoyable film that also features the Louvre. There's your first.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
For next week.
Yeah.
So we're all really psyched about that. But Da Vinci Code, one that I just kind of wanted to revisit because I remember it being dumb, and I was right.
I remember that when you put in the chat, like, hey, there's something we can do, and I'm like, I absolutely need to tear this movie apart. Like, I just need to, because especially now with so many of the red notices and this kind of globe-trotting thing, you recognize that there was a time when a movie tried to take it seriously, and then they learned, like, I mean, I guess not. They made a bunch of sequels, but I'm glad that they haven't decided to go back to that taking it very seriously thing. I would almost a red notice.
Yeah, I would prefer. No, I can't say I would prefer a red notice. This is definitely more interesting than a red notice, but they made it interesting in a weird direction, which was like no banter,
Nope.
no quips. Robert Langdon is just like, I'm just along for the ride. I don't want to be here.
Got so much knowledge.
I'm cursed
Let me
with
just
it.
tell you about these symbols.
Yeah, and he just has to lecture you at every instant. So and the book I remember reading as a child. I don't know when it came out. I was way.
You know, kids love New Testament.
Well, that was
history.
like my first thing that I was into was like Michael Crichton, like reading books like that. So Dan Brown was a gateway.
Yeah,
it was an
Well,
easy.
It was a huge bestseller. If you're a very young person who doesn't remember the mid-aughts, this was a nationwide phenomenon.
It was massive.
And I think a very fun premise of like, oh, there's codes hidden in Renaissance artistry, like that leads at a mysterious secret from the Catholic Church. It's all in it's all in the details, and the details of this movie suck.
It's a lecture. It is a 2-hour-long lecture on fake history. I don't want to watch a 2-hour-long lecture on real history.
That I think gets to.
I disagree, but yes, I know what you're saying.
I think that gets to my.
That's a podcast. I'll listen to a podcast while I'm walking.
There's a lot of this movie that it feels a little bit more like a filmed TED Talk than a movie, and I feel like you needed to cut down. I know that's what the book is like, and Dan Brown had like. The thing with Dan Brown is he's like kind of a pretend historian at the same time as he's a novelist, and like he really was trying to suggest that some of these ideas are maybe kind of real. It was a little bit like JFK, that Oliver Stone movie, where you can watch it just as a fictional movie about this guy and his ideas.
Yeah.
But there was also this idea that on one level Oliver Stone was saying like, no, this is really what I think happened. And I feel like that was how Da Vinci Code was presented. And I'm not interested in the part where it's like I'm trying to convince you of the reality of this. Just make a fun movie that's less talky.
Yeah, I wonder if I feel like this couldn't have happened. They couldn't have made this movie today. Just because
they did. It was called Inferno, and nobody went to go see it.
Right. Because I think that like facts are too easily accessible. Like you only back in the 90s. When did this come out? Early 2000s.
This was 2006, I think, was the movie.
I guess
but the book would have been the early aughts.
Right. Where like you only needed to know more than the audience. You didn't need to really know a lot about the Renaissance or biblical fiction, biblical reality or whatever. You just needed to sound convincing enough, and nobody would look it up because like. Going on Alta Vista? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, whereas if this came out today and was the same cultural phenomenon that it was back then, there would be 20 Twitter threads of everything about this that was wrong. And it would be the first thing you saw when you got on Twitter.
It'd be absolutely roasted. But I mean, when you're reading a book, as you did back then, and on paperback, you weren't fact-checking anything.
I will say one other thing that kind of undermines the case is I think that Dan Brown does this thing where he's afraid that you're not going to get his references. Like, he doesn't want to delve into a single painting that Americans haven't heard of. So every reference, we're supposed to believe these are very high level, like scholars, the most brilliant people in the world when it comes to early Christianity, the history of the Bible. And yet every reference is like, Isaac Newton or the Holy Grail or the Crusades. Like, they never reference even like a battle maybe you haven't heard of, or like, and it's like, come on, I know that there were more than 4 things happened in history. Like, if you're like, history is 6 things: Charlemagne,
and
then
Jesus, then Rome, then the Knights Templar.
It really feels like that, and it's like, I think you should have missed it up. A little bit more esoteric would have made it feel a lot more real if it was like maybe one person you hadn't heard of.
Well,
and then they get to the Spanish Inquisition, and you're like, now it's just a sketch.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, Monty Python and the Holy Grail has a lot more like real references to actual medieval history than this does.
What about the cryptex? That one's real, right?
No. Dan Brown invented the cryptex.
That's incredible that he did that.
That's not. Oh, he didn't invent the physical cryptex.
I know.
He should have. He should have had to build a real one to put that in the book.
Genius. All right, let's watch the honest trailer for Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. Da Vinci.
You cross the globe in search of adventure with Harrison Ford. You watch Nick Cage save America. Then Marky Mark took you to Papa John's.
I'm literally in a Papa John's right now. Found it. Excuse me, guys.
Calling it out doesn't make it okay.
I'm literally in a
Along
Papa
with
John's
Tom
right now?
Hanks on another baffling mystery. What's up with his hair in this one? Was that on purpose? Is it supposed to be like professory or the Da Vinci Code?
Pause. I did no research into this question. Why is his hair like that this time? Was it ever like that again?
No.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Before or since, like Castaway, kind of?
I think maybe Angels and Demons. Definitely by Inferno.
I mean, sure, when he's not playing Robert Langdon.
No, they never brought this back for non-Langdon roles.
Okay.
That's just how he and Ron Howard pictured Robert
I'm doing
Langdon.
some very Robert Langdon thing and writing in Tom Hanks Da Vinci Code hair. Why?
I did Peacock last year. I think it's already pulled off of the Peacock platform, but they did a prequel series where it's like a Robert Langdon show before the Da Vinci Code. And I watched the first episode just to see, did they give the actor the Tom Hanks movie hair? They did not. He looked normal.
That hair is, yeah, I think it's supposed to be that kind of like rakish professor. Like you could see him making out with like a co-ed or something like that. but it doesn't work because it's Tom Hanks.
That's the thing. So thank you, Scott Weinberg of Rotten Tomatoes in 2006 for asking. Oh, no, you're just reposting someone else who asked.
That's journalism.
Yeah, that's journalism. Yeah. Tom Hanks wanted to look like a scholar. So to him, that's scholar hair.
Okay. Sure.
And I wonder, because I've never had a professor or teacher who had quite that look.
No, never.
No.
It was supposed to look professory. We were right.
Yeah. Well,
I every time I think of professor hair, I just think of like every professor I ever had who had like gray locks.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like very like Cornell Westy or like very,
Yeah.
like that. I think of like the salt and pepper hair. You know, I think of like a little Reed Richards. I don't necessarily think of like 48-year-old bedhead, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that guy, Tom Hanks, Robert Langdon, looks like he's going to sleep with his grad students.
And not in the cool way.
Not in the cool way. Exactly.
Cool way.
All right, keep going.
Back in 2003, the world hit the brown note as Dan Brown plopped out the fakest story about Da Vinci since Assassin's Creed 2.
What of the body? Bring it inside and put it with the others.
In a historical tale
in the
that
media.
feels like skimming Wikipedia after 6 beers, with references to the only 3 paintings Americans can name.
The Mona Lisa. The Vitruvian Man.
Just to recognize the Last Supper.
Because they think the only way you'll care about art history is if they turn it into an episode of Maury.
But how could Christ have a bloodline unless...
Mary was pregnant at the time of the crucifixion.
You are the Father!
When the curator of the Louvre gets shot, he'll have just enough time to write a whole bar trivia night on the walls.
Well, pause.
Draconian.
We should get into the theology here, sadly, of the
boy.
Da Vinci Code. So what's the group called? The sex cult that's trying to that's keeping the secret?
Well, oh, right.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
Catholicism wants the secret to stay hidden, or Opus Dei wants it to stay hidden.
Opus Dei is the conservative group that wants to destroy the secret. I forget what the name of the group. The Keepers is what they call
Yeah,
them.
the
Yeah.
whatever society. They want to
The
like
Priory of Sion.
Yeah.
There. Oh boy.
the Prior
Nailed
side.
it.
Thank you. So they want to prove
The
that
Prius Scions. Yes.
it just never quite they never quite resolved that tension of like they want to show that Jesus, like, what if God was one of us? Like he's super normal. Then who cares about his bloodline? Like if he's not magic and he wasn't the son of God, he was just like a man. Well, I guess
what Ian McKellen, spoiler alert, what his whole thing ends up being is that it's misogyny. It's this institutionalized misogyny because the Catholic Church and the Vatican and the early church wanted to suppress this idea of Jesus not just having a child with Mary Magdalene, but like leaving them in charge of the church. Like you're my heirs. You're going to take over the Christian faith when I die. And the idea was the Vatican was like, no, and this alternate theory where St. Paul became the leader of the early church. That's what we're trying to correct. So that's why the whole idea of like, you're going to go to Mary Magdalene's grave and you're going to like kneel to her and respect her as the real inheritor of the Christian faith. That's how it was supposed to be. Like, that's the history we're going to
So then
back.
Why could she do magic?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I guess
Sophie,
Jesus could heal. You know, he was a healer.
Well, she tried to walk on water and she couldn't do that. Basically, it looks like she just like got rid of a dude's panic attacks, and that could just be
true.
my therapist does that, and she ain't related to Jesus.
Right? Just break out the temple rub.
Yeah, I think
the Templar rub.
the way Tom Hanks says it in the movie too, I think it's ambiguous. You're supposed to be like, maybe she's just a comforting person and they're friends. Or maybe she has a supernatural Jesus power.
Got it. All right, we'll get into the sex cult stuff too later. Let's keep playing.
What a weird thing to throw in. Anyway.
Devil.
An anagram.
Rags. Rocks.
Madonna of the Rocks.
Da Vinci. And Googling all the keywords is Tom Hanks as Robert Langdon.
Compounding keywords. London, night. Pope.
Quicksilver.net.
Follow a hero with zero connection to any of these people.
How well did you know the curator?
Not very well.
Who mostly just seems annoyed to be there.
I've jammed my shoulder. I've been shot at. I'm bleeding.
But since the most interesting thing
wet.
about it is that he
I'm
fell down
hysterical.
one time, he'll jump at the chance to lecture a whole new audience to death.
So this is the
Smile
movie.
is in the lower spatial frequencies. The horizon is significantly lower on the left than it is on the right. The Priory of Zion is a myth, one of the world's oldest and most secret societies, with leaders like Sir Isaac.
It all started over 1,000 years ago when a French king conquered the holy city of Jerusalem.
This crusade, built by the Templars themselves, is named for the original rose line, Rosslyn Chapel.
The pairing of those two pyramids. It's unique. The two are geometric echoes.
Fascinating.
Picture says 1,000 words.
I like Jean Reno being our audience supplant right there. Fascinating.
How did they make 3 of these things?
Dude, I don't
Journey
know,
to
man.
Paris,
Pause.
whereby French law.
Did anyone see the sequels?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah.
I have not.
I've seen all 3.
You saw Inferno?
Yeah.
You could tell me anything happens in Inferno, and I believe you. Is it about Dante?
It is, yeah. Well, Dante's Inferno is the sort of the puzzle thing that he's unlocking, but it's basically there's like a plague that's going to be unleashed on the whole world, and he's got a ticking clock to like solve the puzzle to like prevent the plague. But the twist there is he's infected with it, so like he's coming in and out of consciousness, and like he's got amnesia, and like Langdon's all messed up in Inferno.
Whoa.
So that's like he's got to solve the puzzles. Like he's got it like at the high challenge level because he's got to solve the puzzles while he's like all fuzzy.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds like
really
Jurassic
bad.
World Dominion.
yeah, where they.
And then there's locusts. And
I was gonna say, where's the locust?
There's
at?
no locust, but no, it is. It's really weird. But yes, the Dante's Inferno is the Da Vinci of that one.
I want to do a Da Vinci Code style mystery, but it's only about Big Johnson T-shirts. If you look there, there's liquor in the front and
It's an 80s surfwear brand. It's like,
Exactly.
where if you look at the Billabong logo upside down.
Yeah, the No Fear eyebrow spells out Mary Magdalene. All right, keep going.
Amelie and Leon the Professional must appear in your film. Jean Reno is Fash,
I'm Captain Bisou Fash.
a police officer, but I repeat myself. Audrey Tautou is Sophie, the last descendant of Jesus Christ. According to her grandfathers, definitely not a sex cult.
There it
She's
is.
That's
inherited
so
her
weird.
ancestors' powers
So
to
pause.
heal the
Like-
Not mentioned.
Was
like,
that subtext or text that like she was being groomed by her grandfather?
Well, it is. It's text because they say like like he was preparing her to take over the priory.
Yeah.
But the sex cult stuff is barely explored at all.
It's
like,
a single cutaway shot.
Yeah, it's just like, wait, what?
Also, we all had sex with each other, anyways. I mean, I guess that's a part of that is assumed in like a English boarding school culture. I assume that they're all having sex with each other.
If you're feeding into the like, this is the sex positive, humanistic, like this is the counter force against the Vatican's misogynist, like repressive regime. I guess, but you'd think a line of dialogue exploring that.
Yeah.
Or just don't show that.
Or just
I don't need to see the exchange of fluids happen.
Yeah,
like I can Sandra Bullock that and just be like, no exchange of fluids, please. I don't need to see it.
It becomes eyes wide shut for like one scene and then back to Da Vinci Code. Like, wait, what?
I got distracted. I was thinking about that freaky six-way I had.
But I've already seen everything.
Anyways, back to the painting. Anyways. Okay, keep going.
Claustrophobic?
Maybe you healed my phobia with your hands.
Knows how to handle a whip.
No, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it!
Shut up, Tej.
And can tolerate men explaining basic symbols to her, even though she's a police cryptographer.
It represents aggression and manhood. The symbol still used today in modern military uniforms.
Man gang.
The more penises you have, the higher your rank.
Patience of a saint. Thrill as everyone chases each other around some of Europe's most dreary tourist traps, full of weird little creeps like Silas. Paul Bettany literally shines as a modern-day Sith Lord, with the strength to kill anyone, from a defenseless old nun to a defenseless old man.
I love that.
You know, it'd probably take something crazy like a wheelchair-bound guy with a walking stick to take him out. Not my body. It's my only weakness.
So pause. I mean, just a moment of appreciation for a very memorable, stupid villain in Silas the Vilest.
I love him hitting the nun over the head with the stone tablet because he really puts
he rocked that
back
nun.
into it. Like you don't need to hit a nun that hard in the head with a stone tablet to kill. Like she's old and it's big and heavy.
She was on her way out.
But he like winds up. It's like a Babe Ruth calling his shot
It is
move.
on the level of Meet Joe Black in terms of like sudden over the top violence.
It's so big. It's so great.
Yeah.
Bettany killing that one.
Way to go, Bettany. He's come so far. But always like a pale little weirdo in pretty much every role.
Oh.
Yeah, this is peak pale little weirdo.
Yeah.
This is they don't get paler or more weird.
Yeah. Anyways, good stuff.
Yeah, this is almost powder.
Keep going.
That uncovers the darkest conspiracy in the Catholic Church. Second darkest. That dresses up like an action-packed TED Talk, but plays like Indiana Jones, stripped of anything fun or visually interesting.
A magic cup, the source of God's power on earth. It's nonsense.
No time to argue. Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. Adios, senor.
Many of our followers are married, many of them have families. Only a small proportion choose to live ascetic lives.
You want to be a good archaeologist, you gotta get out of the library.
I have to get to a library, fast.
Starring...
How do you write that line of dialogue?
You've got Grail. What if God was one of us? Reno 911.
You shall not pass. You may pass.
Oh, thank you. Silas the Vilest. The Butler did it. And Doctrine Octopus. There's something about Mary.
I like that title. Yeah.
The whole movie revolves around mistaking P.S. for Princess Sophie, and I can't believe How I Met Your Mother somehow did it better.
P.S. I love you. Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer?
Okay, but imagine if Paul Schaefer was instead of Princess Sophie.
The son of God.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Jesus' disciple, all right?
That'd be amazing. One day we'll do How I Met Your Mother, but today's
Hey, Paul, you related to Jesus? Yeah. The son of God. I can't really do it.
Thank y'all for watching, and please check out the complete Indiana Jones movie and TV timeline that Billy put together and Ken Knapsack also on this channel. It is a wild ride. it turns out Indiana Jones has met every he's like you said, he's gumped it. He's gumped his way through history.
You have to include the young
Indie Chronicles, he's met every major historical figure and been a part of everything important that's happened from 1908 to 1993. So, go check that out right after this. And
if you look up London Grail Pope, Indy comes up.
Indy's the first one. All right, now I think we have a few outtakes, or at least other names that we cut. Let's check that out.
Starring Renaissance Man, Forrest Gump, Somali, The Princess Inquiries, Fash X, Bad Teacher, Raising Cane's, Weird Albino, Vision Board, Cool Whip, Undercover Butler, and Nobody Expects the Spanish Inquisition. Night at the Museums, A Simple Plan, Leonardo Leads, Passional Treasure.
Oh, God. I didn't see that one.
Well, you got at least one thing right. If you went to Harvard, you will find a way to let everyone know about it for the rest of your life.
In which year did a Harvard scholar outgrow an Oxford man at Henley?
Surely such a travesty has never occurred.
So I didn't realize that's an Oxford
thing,
not a Harvard thing.
Close enough.
All right, so let's get into it.
I also suggested for the titles. It didn't even make the short list. Nobody fucks with the Jesus. I thought that was
yeah, it'd be nice for Holtby, but we can't curse in the title.
You could put a little asterisk there.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus. That'd be good. I think that Something About Mary was just perfect. All right, Evan J. Pretzer. Is Hanks at the point where his career has now faded? To me, it seems like he's not done anything iconic in a while.
Wow,
Elvis slander.
Great in
Elvis slander.
Great in Asteroid City in theaters right now.
Oh, he's in that. Wow,
everyone's in that. I think
it's fascinating because Wes Anderson has gone on the record saying, despite some of Bill Murray's recent troubles, they're still friends. He's going to keep putting Bill Murray in things, but Asteroid City has a role that would clearly normally be the Bill Murray role.
Yeah,
but it's Tom Hanks.
Okay. You can make that sub at this point.
No, I mean, and Tom Hanks is great, and there's apparently no bad blood between Wes Anderson and Bill Murray, but just a fascinating wrinkle.
I mean, obviously Pinocchio was not fantastic.
Holy smoky!
Well, he did A Man Called Otto with Mark Forrester last year. That's like having a big moment on Netflix actors right now.
Okay.
I don't know. I still think Tom Hanks. He's only ever one movie away from being everybody's favorite again.
Oh yeah, he has not burned up all that goodwill. And I think, say what you will about his performance in Elvis, it was a hit.
Yeah, it was a big movie. People loved it.
Gigantic film.
Yeah.
And he was swinging for the fences. You know, I just I feel like maybe just post COVID, he's just like been like, I'm just gonna take a bunch of stuff.
Take some time off.
And he's talked about this. He did a bunch of like movies that went right to streaming, like that Finch one on Apple TV and a few others. And I think that he
Greyhound.
I think he was one of those people that was like, oh, maybe this is the new thing, and now we're all like, nah, this isn't really a new thing. People want to see stuff in theaters.
Yeah. But the 10 subscribers to Apple TV Plus were thrilled that they got a new Tom Hanks movie.
Actually, that one Greyhound is pretty good.
Okay.
Finch, I didn't love as much.
You've seen this, Lon. Adam Hulbert asks, I know it'd be out of the ordinary, but is it possible to get a Beau is Afraid on his trailer?
I really enjoyed it, but it'd be a tough film for us. If you haven't seen it, I don't even know what we would joke about with you. It's so specific. Very idiosyncratic.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it a lot. It's on VOD now.
I mean, we could do like honest Ari Aster movie.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely stuff like mom stuff that runs through all of his movies.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch Something About the Johnsons again though.
No, let's not. Let's just keep it to the features. Just the features.
Are you gonna watch Something About the Johnsons?
I'm not familiar with it.
Oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yeah, don't look that up. Everybody.
Do not look that up on your work.
Very
Wi-Fi.
troubling early Ari Aster short.
Here it is. Oh no.
Johnsons.
Yeah.
The strange thing about the Johnsons.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's it.
Like, really, honestly, you might not want to read about this on camera.
Yeah. It's really,
it's very troubling. But it's in that Ari Aster way where it's like, it's horror and it's comedy and it's cringe all at once.
Oh, a brisk 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I couldn't have watched it for 1 minute more.
Great performances. Very troubling.
Okay. All right. Well, Throw that on the queue. All right, back to where we were. Ben Zaiten, how did you decide upon this movie for the Honest Trailer? A fan amongst yourselves? Honestly, it was like, okay, well, first of all, we're in a serious movie release drought that will continue for just a few more weeks, but I think we have some fun stuff in there. And it was like Indiana Jones is coming out this weekend.
This was to tie in with Dial of Destiny.
And we're like, well, we've done The Mummy, we've done Uncharted, like we could do Tomb Raider, one of those or something like that, but I wanted to watch Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. It's also just a huge movie from the last 20 years that we haven't done, and that is a dwindling list at this point.
Oh, the libraries, we've done everything.
We're plundering.
Yeah, so anytime we come up with like a big hit movie that we haven't done, we're like, well, let's just do that.
When else do we do the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the sweet spot is like 96 to 2006 is like, that's when movies were still movies, man. they weren't all franchise bait, and like people like they were cultural moments,
right? And there were no honest trailers yet, so
exactly.
There's a lot of fertile ground.
We'll end with this: from Pat Magana? What is Paul Bettany's best role? Let's see what he's got on.
I mean, immediately the first thing that pops into my brain is Maturin in Master Commander.
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Why did I think that was Jude Law?
I often get
Paul
them
Bettany.
confused.
Yeah, okay.
So that is Bettany. He's great. He and Russell Crowe, you really believe that they've been friends for years, and like they have that easy back and forth, and so that would be my pick.
I think mine's always going to be Knight's Tale, and maybe it's because it was like the first time that like he really like stood out to me as an actor because he was so funny, and again the chemistry between the cast was so great, and maybe the first time I realized he wasn't Jude Law.
I'm also gonna. I didn't remember this off the top of my head, but seeing it on IMDb, Gangster Number One. Have you guys ever seen that?
No,
it's a British gangster movie, and it's two timelines. So you're following Malcolm McDowell, and he's this like one of the top gangsters in London. But then you're cutting back to like prequel early career, his rise, where he's played by Paul Bettany, and it's a really cool like weird messed up kind of movie.
Okay. Well, I'll just pick him as Vision. I mean, when he said, "What is grief but love everlasting?" I just writing just you might as well have hung it up.
I really believe in the ship of Theseus now. You made me believe.
But you bet Master and Commander is definitely the best. He's great. All right, I think that's it for this week because we got to get hard to work on our celebratory holiday episode.
Yeah, July 4th special.
July 4th, and yet it does include the Louvre. So we're gonna give
a
hearty F yeah to next week's Honest Trailer.
You gave it away. You were doing so good.
Yeah, and then that's why they stick around. Oh, and Benjamin Abramowitz, why didn't we do anything for the 500th episode? We forgot. But get ready for a special 502nd or 3rd episode next week on Honest Trailer Commentaries. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Starring Renaissance Man, Forrest